Read all the stories about BYU sports no one else has heard. Go to KSLSports.com for exclusive columns by BYU insider Mitch Harper. That's KSLSports.com.
Welcome back into First and 12 here on KSL News Radio on a Football Tuesday here on KSL. Got Cougar Tracks earlier this evening at 6:30, and then right now over the next 2 hours, First and 12, and then tonight, BYU Football Coaches Show with Kalani Sitake, Mitch Harper, and Alex Kirry with you, getting a league-wide look at the 16-team Big 12. And there was a lot to unpack, Alex, from Week 1. We went through the headlines, but diving deeper into some of these games in particular, what were some of the big takeaways for you from Week 1? And what was a mixed bag for the league as far as results, but what were some of the biggest takeaways?
You know, I think for me personally, I hate all these FCS games.
Yes,
what's the number? I mean, they're 69-0 since 2019.
63-0. You're just blinded by that BYU score.
BYU score got me. No,
Bruce Barnum going, they gave us a 69er. It's like, okay.
Settle down, kid. No, but I think that when you look at that stat, great. You have beaten all the teams you were supposed to beat. And I'll tell you what else happens is we start to just kind of glaze over and we don't really think about you. When you're playing FCS teams at that clip, we do not think about you as a conference. What were the games that were the most important? They were the ones that were the nationally televised, 2 Power 4 teams, and you're not going to get dinged for losses as badly anymore, like they've said in the future. So that's one thing I looked at and I went, great. Utah is going to get a bump. They got the bump. They're in the top 25 already because why? They played against UCLA. Look, it's a bad Big Ten team, I think. I think ultimately UCLA's got some real problems.
But they crushed them.
But they beat the heck out of them. Yeah. And again, it was on national television. It was late, but you know what it was? It was at the Rose Bowl. It was in Pasadena. It was recognizable programs that you've seen play each other before. They used to be part of the same conference. That's the type of matchup you want. And then TCU, what did they get? A signature win in prime time. And they were put prime time because they decided they're going to play this bigger game. That's what you have to do. I can't stand these FCS games, mostly for the sake of, and I get you want to kind of ease into the season. We talked about this last week. Fine, do a legitimate preseason, then get into your real schedule. Then we can start paying attention to these games a little bit more. But you know, I'm super impressed by what. I mean, Utah we know what Utah can do. We're here in this market. We know what they can do. We know what Kyle Whittingham is capable of. And I knew TCU was going to be pretty good, but I didn't think that they were going to come out of the gates that wildly over-dominate against North Carolina, who got all the attention. But they've got a legitimate running back. Josh Hoover is a legitimate quarterback. I mean, when I'm watching last night and I'm going, Kevorian Barnes goes 11 carries, 111 yards. Like, nobody was stopping that guy. They could have handed the ball off 20 times to him. He would have definitely had a 200-yard night. And it didn't even matter. Josh Hoover is playing some really good ball. He still has to clean up a couple of things, but he's going to be the guy that can be in the driver's seat when it comes to being a lead conference dude. And TCU is not a program to mess with. Sonny Dykes wants to get them back to being good. But again, what are we talking about? The games that mattered, the Power 4 opponents, and I want to see more of that going forward. I hope that they start scheduling more of these opponents. I don't think it's going to happen for a little while. It's going to take a minute for them to get used to what this new scheduling is going to look like.
Well said. I think my biggest takeaway was just close, but not far enough in some of these outcomes. You know, Cincinnati and Nebraska, you got to take care of those games. Baylor, Auburn. You can't assume you're going to have these opportunities to host these SEC, these Big Ten teams all the time. You've got to capitalize. And look, I don't think it's fair for the Big 12 that they're always judged on this, metric of, well, you better capitalize or else, you're never going to be good. Whereas the SEC and the Big Ten, they always have this margin for error. Everyone always forgets, 3 years ago, TCU once defeated the Big Ten champ Michigan on its way to get to the national title. The only thing people bring up is, well, they got hammered by Georgia 65-7, so the Big 12 is just a fraud. That's the issue sometimes that this league faces, but those games you do have to capitalize because you want to have – I just think long-term that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to schedule each other more and try to, create the self-narrative that they are just the kings of the sport. And you got to capitalize when you get those chances. And I think there were some missed opportunities there by the league. But I also did come away feeling like this league, the quarterback hype in this conference is real.
It's legit, yeah.
The Big 12 brands itself as the quarterback club this year. Here's the top passing leaders in the Big 12 through week 1. Avery Johnson, Rocco Beck, they got the benefit of 2 games. Same with Jalen Daniels, who's third. But Sawyer Robertson, Josh Hoover, Taven Jackson at UCF, he's maybe the outlier, but Sam Levitt, Nico Martial, Devin Dampier, Baron Morton, that's some good signal callers. And I didn't even mention Noah Fafita, Caden Salter, Bear Bachmeyer. So this league is deep at the quarterback position. When we launched this show 2 years ago, I think both you and I were kind of underwhelmed when Will Howard was first-team quarterback in the league, which sounds crazy now because he became a national champion, but we're like, there's not many good signal callers in this league. 2 years later, it's a deep league with great quarterbacks.
Not only that, think about guys like Devin Dampier, who you had some people singing his praises and you had other people totally forgetting about him. And I think he already put himself in that conversation for maybe being the guy. I mean, Utah's already going to be up there in the conversation of being one of the best in the league. They're already back in the AP top 25. And they could stay there for a long, long time. The good news for fans of the Big 12 and fans of that BYU-Utah rivalry, BYU is favored in the next 4 games or 5. I can't.
Good point.
4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
And then Utah, of course, is going to be favored in all the rest of theirs. Probably, maybe Texas Tech. I doubt it, though. It's going to be at Rice-Eccles Stadium. So they're going to be favored in all of them. Imagine if both of those teams fire off a bunch of wins in a row and they face off each other 6-0.
Brett Yormark's saying going to say, I told y'all, I was a genius. That's why we're scheduling it October 18th.
Oh, come on. No, but nobody wants to see it October 18th. I mean, but it would be nice to have those two teams with little single-digit numbers next to their names, because you're going to see everything kind of normalize a little bit. And by week 6, we'll actually know what the reality is of a lot of these rankings that come out. And it's way too early. It's too early to know. But we've already known that guys like Josh Hoover were going to be good. You knew Rocco Beck was going to come back and probably bring back that same exact kind of flair that he brings to Iowa State. Baron Morton, great. Sawyer Robertson, in a loss, had one of the best performances of any of the quarterbacks this week. And so I think you're going to see a lot of that. By the way, they're going to be an explosive offense, and so they need to figure out how to get stops. But the quarterback play, you're exactly right. Phenomenal right now in the league. And Devin Dampier, to me, with what he did through the air, the efficiency, and if he starts to really – if he's not going to throw those picks like he did last year, which you know they've worked on in the offseason, he could end up being, at the very end of this, the best quarterback in the entire Big 12 this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's top 10 in the league, too, in rushing yards through week 1. That's the dual threat ability, and it's almost a futuristic offense. Like, Utah's got an offense. That's what's crazy about Utah, crushing UCLA 43-10, and then to do it the two-way guys, too, Smith, Snowden, Barton. It was an impressive performance by Utah. I think just another takeaway, too, is one of the teams that we thought highly of in the league, K-State, I'm kind of fading them a little bit. Maybe it's that Ireland struggles, that loss. Maybe that truly is a thing for the team that does lose in Ireland. They looked underwhelming. We'll get more on K-State in our power rankings a little bit later in the show. But that's our takeaways from week 1 here on First and 12. Alex Kirry, Mitch Harper. Coming up next, we'll get a Big 12 Sound Roundup. We'll hear from Kyle Whittingham, Kalani Sitake, Coach Prime, Joey McGuire, Kenny Dillingham, and more. It's First and 12 here on KSL News Radio.